Now, the rest of the story.
Well, I guess 10 minutes after I shut off yesterday's video, or the last video I posted, we're gonna just dive right into this Gator sprayer and talk about it a little bit. Let's see if we can't do this video in 10 minutes or less. Sound fair? So, we had a four-wheeler sprayer. We still have it. It's just we haven't gotten rid of it. That we had since I was in high school. 25 gallons really doesn't get you very far, especially when you start talking about the amount of acres that we have that we'd like to cover. So it has a 10-foot boom on it that you have to get out and manually unfold. This bad boy doesn't. When we still had the mule, I actually went and bought a 45-gallon tank that I tied into that 25-gallon tank, and then I was able to spray a little bit more ground going that route. But the whole fixed boom thing and only being able to do 10 feet at a time was a big hindrance. So because I have the valley, not only because I have the valley, it's soft down there. It's, especially after running the 3-point sprayer behind the 4640, that girl gets very heavy. Just taking the tractor as it sits right now down on some of the areas that I was spraying with this on what I would say would be a typical year, and I can't even say that because if I was spraying when I should have been spraying with this, it's just I didn't take the time to set it up. Taking this tractor down there just bare bones like this, I'd have gotten stuck. She's heavy. And then when you get a sprayer on the back, a 300-gallon worth of product with the boom hanging out beyond that, it's a lot of weight on the back end. I didn't have the camera on for my getting stuck down there chronicles spraying fertilizer, but you're stuck before you even realize it. Even with this, I was going across the field on what I thought was dry enough ground, and I literally could feel the seat. I mean, I was driving, and then the seat literally went, you know, so I was done. The Gator has proven that it can handle spraying a lot easier on those hard to reach areas than that girl, whatever you want to call her. I went with the sprayless, or the boomer sprayer. I had it set for approximately 30 feet worth of spraying on across the back. It's set for 20 right now. That's why everything's pointed down, because I have to go spray for volunteer corn. I have the tank cleaner in it right now that I gotta go clean out, and then I'll be putting that stuff in it if the wind doesn't pick up. So I'm trying to, do everything at once, The reason I went with the boomer sprayer is because I didn't want to get out and constantly fold and unfold the sprayer boom. I didn't really want to deal with the spray squirt gun either, which I didn't even know this thing had it when I bought it. But what I did on some of my past years is with these set up and they're spraying 32 feet either, or one across it, it's 15 feet on either side of it. I was able to drive through pastures down at my place that are heavily wooded, a lot of brush, not a whole lot of fun to try to walk through. And I was able to spray on either side of me, or even if you turn off this guy and that guy and you're just spraying out one of these, if you're only running one of these at the set pressure it's set at, it turns this into a squirt gun, and you can get I'd say probably a good 20 feet out the side if you let it. Great for fence rows, great for pastures. I sprayed 2/3, probably 3/4 of the valley farm with this. It took me a couple fills, but honestly a little bit more easier on the fields than running that across it. Brittany, my wife, was wondering why I went this route for spraying the valley and I didn't just use the 46 herself, and I told her the Gator, granted even with a full load of spray in the back, makes a lighter footprint across the field than the 4640. So the grass that I mean, granted it was later than I wanted to spray it, don't get me wrong, but the grass that I had run over when I was spraying with this is starting to bounce back, as opposed to the stuff that I would have ran over with that. and I would have had tram lines through the whole field until I cut first cut. Which, for those of you that are watching the channel, I'm only doing 2 cuts down there, and the first cut probably won't be till the end of June, and that's if we get into a really dry spell and I get super confident in the weather. Unlikely. Otherwise, first cut's going to be in July, second cut will probably be in September. So I didn't really want to go down and take out a bunch of grass that I really didn't need to, because I did a lot more spot spraying with this. I didn't cover the whole farm. I didn't do the whole works. What I did was just go down off of memory and sprayed down in the bottom where it needed it the most. And then I did have 25 acres where I pretty much sprayed over 90% of that whole piece, because it did have plenty of weeds in it last year. So trying to take them out now so I don't have a whole lot of weeds in my hay. Great for pastures, great for rough ground. Super duper simple for getting in and out of the Gator. So we got 4 minutes. All it is, I don't think you're supposed to be able to do this, but it actually is, the tanks are built onto this platform. So this whole piece comes out, and really super simple for taking it in and out of the Gator. That sprayer that I told you about early on that was in the back of the mule, that was probably a half-a-day job to get everything wired in and strapped in. This is all it takes to take that in and out. You loosen that, you got these pre-existing bracket loops on the 4 corners of the back of the Gator. This thing is a John Deere exclusive. Granted, I don't know if you can only put it in the back of a John Deere Gator, but it was built for the Gator. A big reason why I bought it, because I want to be able to take it in and out in season a lot if I need to. Then all you gotta do is to put it back in, just tighten it down, and you're set to go. I went with 2 separate tanks. There was, I think, a couple configurations you could do. I could have went with 1 solid tank, but what my buddy, the parts guy, said was, when you do 2 separate tanks, you have this baffle in here that keeps it from sloshing around too much, because I was on uneven ground, and we went through, we had to, and we actually tightened the springs up on the rear end of the Gator as tight as they would go, so it could help support all this weight back there. It is a lot of weight, it is, don't get me wrong, but you do spray it out fairly quick. I don't like leaving this fully loaded very long at all. So when it comes to time to take it out after I winterize it, all I got to do is do all 4 of those turnbuckles, and depends if I want to take it out permanently for the year or just temporary. I can actually unhook it right there. There's a little pigtail, it's only like a foot long, coming out of the battery. Then you got your on-off switch right here, which is super slick. Also, I mean, this thing was worth the money. I mean, it really was. I have no reason to brag this thing up whatsoever. But see this bad boy? That's actually for a little key fob remote for turning it on and off. I didn't know I was getting that, but I thought it was pretty neat. I don't know if I'll use it, otherwise I could use it on this cultivator, maybe. Oops, did not mean to do that. As far as unhooking it like that, if I want to take it out really quick, I mean, I could do it in under 5 minutes. Same thing with winterizing it and just taking it down to my place and putting it in the shed out of the way. I'll have this thing for many years. I really only bought it for spraying pasture, but also using it for doing this volunteer corn is a plus, because I know I can run down the rows with this. The 4640 and the 3-point sprayer, the 4640 tires are not narrowed up. I know for bringing the planter tractor, maybe it should be, but I don't see the reason to. I think the self-propelled sprayer that comes in and sprays does more damage than the 4640 does, having its tires widened out for being the planter tractor, because duals do help with some of that weight disbursement. So all you got to do for going between the tanks is, see, this is pointed towards the back tank. That's off. And that's the front tank. That's all it takes. Now, my only downside to this, which I don't think it's that big of a deal, but you know, if you're looking for a negative, this is the negative I'm going to say. I was kind of looking for the ability to pull out of both tanks simultaneously. So that way they're both filled to the same level. Saves me from having to get out and, you know, flip the switch. Not the end of the world at all. It doesn't bother me. But that is probably the only real negative that I would really point out on this thing. Is it would be nice if, because that's what Dad and Ryan said when they saw it, is, oh, just, you know, put it to the lever to the center and it'll pull out of both. No, it's not the case. That's actually off, which I usually try to pull out of the back tank first, so as, you know, the weight that is furthest to the back of the Gator, get that off the back end first, and then you can tell by the time this one gets about halfway down, you can already tell the back end is getting lighter, and then I switch to the front one. I mean, it kind of helps with the weight disbursement, if that makes any sense whatsoever. As far as the nozzle here, I'm probably going to use it going down and spraying the pastures at my place. I just need somebody to probably run the Gator for me, because I'm probably going to just, probably not exactly approved by anyone or anything, but probably just stand on the back here, you know, kind of lean up against the back of the Gator, and then just send send the spray out into the brush where we can't drive and we can't get to. I think that'll work pretty slick. This thing is pretty neat. But Ryan is actually going through, he started to, then we got a bunch of rain, going through even the paths that my brother's making with that brush cutter of his that's on the front of his JCB, and then just spraying on either side of him, because the center nozzle does spray and get behind you. Opens up the pastures, opens up everything for the cattle, knocks out the brush, gets some grass growing. Pasture improvements are creeping up as far as things of importance around here, and just a universal handy piece of equipment is the kind of stuff I like spending my money on. I mean, I don't like just spending my money on stuff. So I don't know if you guys can look out here real quick. I mean, we've made some changes outside of that thing. So I don't know. This year, I think a few things have changed, I'd say. So you got to make sure that that end gate is locked up tight, though, because that did flop open on me the first day I took it out. But handy, 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 handy. Especially going down across the valley, getting to areas where I wouldn't have been able to get without this machine, without this unit. I'm looking forward to seeing what it did for weed control. I mean, the stuff I sprayed within 24 hours, it was starting to wilt over, but I hit the house pasture here in the home farm that was full of thistles. Like over 3/4 of it was thistles, and they're all pretty much on their way out the door. So I already passed my 10-minute mark. I think that's it for this video. That is it for this video. You guys have any questions, make sure you comment them down below. I'll either address them in the comment section, or I'll just make another video on it. I mean, it just depends on the amount of questions I have on it. I almost bought one from the local Tyson store, but it was only a 65-gallon tank, and it was a solid tank. I'm glad I went this route. This whole setup, I think this was $1,400 plus $250 for the Booma sprayer, because I just bought that locally. So it literally took less than an hour to set up, and then once you do the initial setup and whatever, I mean, even for next year when I go to pull this out and set it up, it ain't gonna take 10 minutes and we'll be set to go. So with that, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch. Make sure you listen to the little caption at the end, and like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. The channel appreciates it. Everybody that likes to watch this channel usually appreciates it. So until next time.